Good morning. It's Monday, November 4th. So up above is the newsletter, link to our newsletter, and the link to subscribe to the newsletter. In addition to that, I've got the newsletter here in my hand, and the headline of the newsletter is "Rates Refuse to Drop Ahead of the Election. How about after?" And I can assure you that I never talk politics on this or any of my posts or the weekly roadmap or any of those kinds of things. But this newsletter does a very good job, I think, of explaining what will likely happen post the election this Tuesday, depending on who wins. And it's not really a referendum, in my view, as to wanting one or the other to win in that process, but kind of what's driving rates, what is likely to be expected. And the newsletter says that a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek, that no matter what you expect rates to do after the election, you probably have a 50% chance of being wrong. Said differently, it's very hard to predict. So I've got my I voted button or sticker on. I did vote today by dropping it off in a voting drop box here in California. This is my backyard here in Newport Beach, and both my wife and I got our votes in. And again, I stay apolitical on this kind of thing. Obviously, I have my own views, and I'm sure you do as well. If I have one request of everybody, if you haven't voted, get out and vote. Get out and exercise what an awful lot of people have died to protect through the years, so it's an important thing. That said, this week's newsletter really is consumed by talking about what will likely or what could happen depending on who wins, depending on whether there's a one-party control of Congress and the White House. I encourage you to read through it. It'll give you some great insight as to what's happening. We talked about it this week on the weekly roadmap. There's really two big events this coming week. Obviously, there's the election on Tuesday. With any luck, we may actually know who won it on Tuesday or Wednesday. Otherwise, it's going to drag on, and I suspect the bond market, which hates uncertainty, if it drags on, we're going to see worsening in rates no matter what until it becomes clear who has won and who has control of both houses of Congress. So that said, it's about all I want to talk about the election. In addition to that, on Thursday, we're going to get the Fed rate decision. It's actually delaying a day from the normal timing of it because of the election. So on Thursday, we're going to find out what the Fed does in terms of the next interest rate move. The consensus expectation now is a 25 basis point reduction down to 4.75. Really no way to tell. I don't think people could have predicted that on the 50 basis point reduction we had a while ago, that rates would have lost 60 or 70 basis points immediately thereafter. Depending on what interest rate survey you look at, whether it's National Mortgage News or the Freddie Mac survey, you're somewhere between 6.75% and 7.1% in 30-year fixed interest rates. I'm still a believer that we're going to see better rates next year, but it could be a very bumpy ride between now and the end of the year and into early next year. And the reality of it is, when you saw really no move against a very weak jobs market on our job creation number on Friday, I think we're in for somewhat higher rates over the balance of this year, and I think we're going to have somewhat of a very cold winter. We're not going to see the kind of refi volume that a lot of people had expected. And with rates up and just general concerns in the marketplace, I don't think you're going to see a ton of increases in home sales. So purchase volume will be flat to down, I think, over the balance of this year. And now we have to look at the home buying season next spring with hopefully somewhat lower rates. That said, I personally believe there's probably a 25% chance that rates go up and stay up for a while, depending on what kind of uncertainty we see coming out of the election, and what kind of both inflation and jobs data we see in the next coming months, and of course what the Fed does. So that's it. In addition to that, in this post above is a post to the weekly roadmap. It is a hour-long sales call every Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific that I lead, myself and Maria Leda James, who's the moderator of it. We bring guests on every week. This week, we have an outstanding guest. We actually have a returning champion, Joe Massey, who was on a few weeks ago talking about how he trains realtors how to use finance to sell more real estate and helps them through that process to maintain their continuing ed credits in the state of Colorado. He works out of Denver. He came on and really gave everybody who was a listener that week a $600,000 commission idea. I swear to God, it's up on our site. If you are a registered member of the weekly roadmap, you can go up and pull it down, his previous talk. He's coming back this Friday, November 8th, again, 9 a.m. Pacific. He's going to come back and talk about how to build a team. Joe just got back from a month-long vacation in Europe, and while he was gone, his team, really small team, his team actually originated more volume and funded more volume for the month than he did the previous month. And Joe is a $50 to $100 million a year purchase producer with Castle and Cook year in and year out. So I encourage you to come on Friday. One, to find out, we'll have all the information on what the Fed did on Thursday. Obviously, hopefully by Friday, we may have some sense of the election outcome. And we're going to have Joe Massey come on and tell you how you too could take a little bit of your private life back, maybe go on vacation occasionally without having to worry that your business collapses or things go undone. He's going to talk specifically about how to organize a team to help you produce more volume and really recapture a little bit of your personal life. So he's one of the best speakers I've ever listened to in our business, and so I encourage you to come back. Friday, 9 a.m. Pacific. We have hundreds of originators who sign in every week, tons more that listen to it via podcast. We have over 500 subscribers already in this process. We encourage you to do it. It's free. The newsletter is free. If you subscribe to the weekly roadmap, you get the newsletter as well on Fridays as opposed to Mondays. Encourage you to do it. Look forward to seeing you on Friday, and we'll see you on the road.